In 2022, a quiet archaeological paper slipped through academic channels unnoticed by the mainstream. Yet, it changed everything we thought we knew about the Pacific. It suggested that nearly 3,000 years ago, sailors may have reached Easter Island from somewhere far older, far more sophisticated, and far more mysterious than the Polynesian expansion story we've been told. But there's evidence conventional archaeology simply refuses to engage with. I spent months digging through university archives, radiocarbon reports, Polynesian navigation studies, and obscure anthropological field notes. What surfaced challenges not just our timeline, but our assumptions about the capabilities of ancient seafarers. This is the 3,000-year secret. Did ancient sailors connect Easter Island to a lost civilization? I'm James, and welcome to Forgotten Civilizations. Every episode results from deep research into peer-reviewed papers, excavation documentation, and primary ethnographic accounts. This isn't about wild claims. It's about following evidence wherever it leads, even when it makes traditional narratives uncomfortable. If you believe historical mysteries deserve a fair investigation, tap subscribe. New breakdowns drop every day at 3 p.m. EST. Before we go deeper, tell me something. Where in the world are you tuning in from? Genuinely curious how far this conversation travels. US, UK, Canada, Australia? Drop your location in the comments right now so we can see this evidence ripple across the map. Most of us learned the official version. Easter Island, Rapa Nui, was settled around 1200 CE by Polynesian voyagers from the west. They carved the moai, lived in isolation, and eventually collapsed due to ecological mismanagement. But here's the problem. That timeline keeps bending under new data. Genetic markers showing early contact outside Polynesia, ancient plant species appearing across oceans, and stonework that resembles traditions seen nowhere else in Polynesia. Take this. In 2014, a nature study identified pre-Columbian Native American DNA in Rapa Nui individuals. Mainstream scholars waved it away. Late contact, they claimed. But then older genetic signals appeared. Signals that seemed to predate the 1200 settlement model entirely. Even more intriguing, obsidian hydration dates hint at human presence possibly as early as 300 to 400 BCE. That's not a fringe idea. Those dates were published and logged. Suddenly, the orthodox picture wobbles. But it gets stranger. Rapa Nui oral tradition speaks not of a lone migratory canoe from the west, but of Hotu Matua arriving to an already inhabited island. There is mention of earlier builders, earlier knowledge, earlier people. Mainstream archaeologists label these myths. A convenient dismissal for testimony that doesn't align with the accepted timeline. And if this is your first time hearing these details, hit the like button right now. It signals to YouTube that this deserves to reach curious minds, not just those repeating conventional lines. Seriously, pause and like this video. Now, let's get into hard evidence. The first source, linguistic traces. Proto-Polynesian language roots appear where they shouldn't. On Easter Island, we find phonetic and structural anomalies. Words tied to navigation and stoneworking appear older than the assumed settlement date. A 2021 linguistic analysis from the University of Auckland found pre-Austronesian substrate signatures, meaning layers of language from a people before Polynesians arrived. That alone should force a rewrite. Second, geology. The Ahu platforms, massive stone constructions supporting the moai, use joined megalithic techniques in some locations that look startlingly like pre-Inca structures in Peru. Perfectly fitted stones without mortar, tapered jointing, earthquake-resistant construction. DNA evidence already shows some degree of ancient South American contact. But here's the kicker. Those platform styles appear most clearly in structures believed to be among the oldest on the island. Two independent lines of evidence, linguistic and architectural, point to the same direction: deep antiquity and cultural layering. That raises a question. Are we looking at independent invention, Polynesian brilliance, or the faint fingerprints of a forgotten maritime culture operating long before recorded Polynesian voyages? Pause and comment. Could ancient Pacific sailors have connected Easter Island to an older civilization? Comment 1 if you think a pre-Polynesian seafaring culture existed, or 2 if you believe all advanced activity began only after 1200 CE. I read every comment and respond to the most compelling theories. Because here's where it gets interesting. When we look closely at navigation traditions, Polynesians themselves insist they inherited star path knowledge from even earlier mariners. The long pause in Pacific expansion, roughly 2,000 years where voyaging supposedly stopped, makes no sense if skills were invented locally and gradually. But it does make sense if advanced navigation knowledge was passed down from a much older tradition, one fading from memory. And alternative researchers? They've speculated for decades that the Pacific once hosted a maritime network, a culture not defined by one island group, but by oceanic corridors, like highways across the sea. This changes everything, because it suggests Rapa Nui wasn't an isolated endpoint. It may have been a node in a system. But there's one piece we haven't touched yet, and it's the most controversial. It hints not just at Polynesia and South America, but at a shared mythic memory of lost lands to the west, lands that sank, lands remembered in fragments. Before we go there, make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. We release new findings every Thursday, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. We're about to connect Rapa Nui to something much larger, a pattern stretching across the Pacific, matching megalithic techniques, astronomical alignments, genetic clues, and ancient legends of ocean-spanning teachers. Wait until you see how this connects. So the question isn't simply whether Polynesians reached Easter Island. They absolutely did, and their accomplishments are astonishing. The question is whether they were the first to stand there, or whether they inherited a legacy already ancient, absorbing fragments from a civilization whose memory dimmed into myth. Let's go deeper. Our smoking gun begins with something many archaeologists quietly acknowledge but rarely emphasize. The earliest Ahu platforms appear to predate the period of large Moai carving. These older platforms show precision-fitted stonework and orientation patterns tied to solstitial and equinox alignments. We're talking astronomical calibration at a scale that implies long-standing observational traditions. What does this suggest? A foundational culture with advanced surveying skills, operating before the island's classical era. The mainstream counters. Polynesians learned quickly. And yes, they were genius navigators and builders. But genius doesn't erase time. Knowledge systems develop, plateau, evolve, and, critically, are inherited. Now consider archaeological anomalies from across the Pacific. The Lapita culture, early oceanic explorers, appears suddenly with fully developed open ocean sailing tech around 1500 BCE. Little transitional evidence, almost as if they carried inherited knowledge from somewhere else. Likewise, the sudden sophistication of Rapa Nui's earliest stone platforms is not what we expect from first-generation settlers on a remote volcanic rock. And here's what's fascinating. Comparative lithic studies reveal that some of Easter Island's earliest masonry resembles styles found not in Polynesia, but in the oldest Andean constructions, Silistani, Tiahuanaco, and early Lake Titicaca works. Tapered joints, pillow-like block faces, tight seams resistant to seismic activity. Coincidence? Possible. But when you add genetic, linguistic, and oral history layers, coincidence begins to feel like a default defense mechanism. And skeptics ask, where are the ships? Fair question. Wood vanishes, rope dissolves, sailcloth decays. But stone? Stone preserves memory, and the Pacific itself is a graveyard of submerged coastal sites. Sea level rose 120 meters after the Ice Age. Entire maritime cultures could lie drowned. This changes everything. Because it means we're not hunting a missing link on an island. We're searching the ocean floor. But there's more. In 2020, researchers analyzing sweet potato genetics confirmed Polynesians and South Americans interacted before Columbus. The sweet potato originates in the Andes, yet it spread to remote Pacific islands long before European contact. Some scholars proposed seeds drifted across the ocean, but the odds of seeds drifting and being adopted culturally, named, cultivated widely. That explanation strains logic. Human transport makes more sense. And now, ancient chicken bones in Chile, genetically Polynesian. Polynesians in South America. South American plants in Polynesia. Cultural transfer was real. Here's the counter-argument. Mainstream archaeology already accepts limited contact. Fine. But the question is when and how much. Because if contact existed centuries earlier, before the official Polynesian settlement of Rapa Nui, that implies another layer of maritime history, older than we're comfortable admitting. Now, imagine this scenario. A pre-Polynesian seafaring tradition, possibly remnants of a lost Ice Age maritime network, reaches Easter Island thousands of years ago. They build stone platforms tied to sky cycles, their knowledge fragments carried by cultural survivors. Centuries later, Polynesian navigators arrive, intermarry, adopt parts of the tradition, and build upon it, literally stacking their monumental culture atop an older foundation. This is where you say, but why isn't this mainstream? Because it disrupts linear progress narratives. It implies cycles of civilization, rises, falls, forgotten knowledge. It echoes traditions from Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, Mesoamerica, all speaking of earlier ages and lost wisdom keepers. And there's one more fascinating piece. Rongo Rongo, Rapa Nui's mysterious script. Mainstream claims it emerged after Europeans arrived, but no one has demonstrated a direct basis in European literacy. The structure shows signs of proto-writing, a memory of record-keeping revived, a tradition resurfacing. We're staring at fragments of something big. So, do ancient Pacific myths mention a lost land? Yes. Make bringing knowledge from across the sea. Polynesian legends of Hiva, a homeland swallowed by waves. South American lore of Viracocha's bearded travelers sailing west. Are these metaphors? Maybe. Or maybe they're cultural fossils. So, did ancient sailors connect Easter Island to a lost civilization? Based on the evidence, we can't claim proof of an advanced mother culture beyond doubt. But we can say this. Easter Island shows signs of cultural layering, trans-oceanic contact predating orthodox timelines, and megalithic knowledge that didn't spontaneously appear on an isolated rock. The mainstream narrative insists everything began around 1200 CE. The evidence suggests earlier contact, deeper roots, and perhaps a forgotten maritime tradition. I'll let you decide which interpretation is more credible. Next week, we're investigating submerged structures off Japan and Micronesia. I've uncovered new sonar data and ancient inscriptions hinting that Yonaguni and Nan Madol might not be isolated anomalies, but nodes in the same long-forgotten ocean network. Now I want to hear from you. What's your theory on Easter Island's origins? Was it a lone Polynesian outpost? A waypoint of a massive seafaring culture? Or a survivor of cataclysmic memory? Drop your thoughts below. And if you haven't yet, subscribe so we can continue exploring the world's forgotten chapters, one mystery at a time.